and it is looking rather beautiful today. Lots to see, lots to explore, lots to find on the shore at Betty's Bay. Hello everyone, my name is Kosha Govender and welcome to the show. This is my first time on today's show and I'm going to be your naturalist for today, and I'm super excited to be here, and I hope that you will have a few questions for us. Oh, behind the camera, almost forgot, is Igor, who's also joining us today. And I think that we are a perfect team to show you what's on this beach and all the interesting activities that we're going to find. So looking forward to that and what's in store. So I think Igor's focusing right now on, I'm gonna have a look, just get used to this. He's focusing on the horizon and the water and the waves. And to our viewers, please remember to send in your comments or questions for us today, and that will be to register on our website wildearth.tv/questions, or alternatively you could also use the QR code. So please remember to do that, and we would love to hear from you all. Gonna have to be super close. Okay, so I'm just super close to Egon right now because I'm having a look at the screen and what we're focusing on. But I must say, we're spoiled for lovely conditions. It's a cool breeze, I'd say about 8 knots wind, southeasters, but it's really nice. And our penguins, I think they're enjoying it. Imagine we're all wanting to go to the beach and just to relax. And to do what they're doing right now is chilling and lying down and just taking it all in, because it's such a stunning day and we're super spoiled. I'm always amazed when I come here. It's almost as if these guys are having a lovely conversation between themselves about how calm and beautiful it is. So they've done their foraging for the day and they're just going to rest. And thank you so much, Kendall. It is a beautiful day, and thank you for watching today. Now we're just on the rocks. I think we moved. Here we go. So actually, while we're on the rock pool there, Igor, you just got to focus there. Maybe for our viewers, for some of you if you don't know, I do like to talk about the Rocky Shore intertidal life. So if there's anything you would like to ask me about the plants or the animals, or anything interesting that you would like me to share, I will gladly do that. And I think over our next few days, so Jax is usually in the week, she's on a nice break over the next few days, but I will be here for the weekends, and we could probably include a plant or an animal from the Rocky Shore, because all of these animals are connected. The Penguin Beach is a home to multiple marine life, mammals, birds, but also the invertebrates in the ecosystem that you see here. And there's so many factors that we can talk about that influences these animals and the distribution of them and their position here in the rock pools.
WildEarth Explorers is a club aimed at people who love nature and care about the earth we live on. First and foremost, if you join our club, you can watch WildEarth completely ad-free. In addition, we have great monthly prize draws, a weekly newsletter, and access to some great extra content such as fireside chats, AMAs, and hangouts. For a small monthly subscription, you can join other like-minded viewers and be part of the club. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
After an exhilarating day of live safaris,
what better than to cozy up around a fire?
sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and let our guides enchant you with their stories and exciting animal encounters. And of course, stand a chance to join in the chat and get your questions answered in real time. So what are you waiting for? Join the Explorers Club today and start to enjoy our special evenings around the fire. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So this seaweed is a very unique seaweed, and it may look like it's a bit dried up, possibly not living at all, but this seaweed is actually perfectly fine. It's dried up on the upper shore, it's found in that spot, but it relies mainly on ocean sea spread. And underneath, if you're walking along the rocks, you'll see this purple lava. It kind of looks like lava on the rocks. And then underneath, there are fresh layers of this seaweed. And which makes, this is actually the same seaweed we use for sushi. So the sushi lovers, purple lava, also known as nori, which is found worldwide, especially in the Asian countries to make sushi. Some of our seafood chips lovers, it's the same seaweed. So if you are feeling a bit peckish one day at the beach and you find some purple lava, you can break a piece from the rock and just give it a bit of a rinse and you can taste that. It's actually rather delicious. Thank you, Donna, for that question. There are a few animals that rely on that purple lava that live in the upper shore, and that would be your tiny little mollusk, referred to as our winkles. And they're those tiny little snails that are around there that we often need to check if we're stepping on them because they're very small, and that's their food source for the time and sustains them over time. So it's very important to have that seaweed there for those animals that are found in the upper shore. And there, Igor is actually focusing on some of the winkles there that you're seeing in between those little cracks. And they start off super small and tiny, and then they grow into much larger size. So Africana littorina, that's the species we're referring to. And they don't like the sunlight, and in order to stay sort of moist, they stay in between those cracks and hide in the sheltered spots there. Okay, so they are exposed, but they can hide in between their shells, and they close their little trap door to stay in there for some time. Okay, so they would feed on that.
So talking about the whole ecosystem,
I think that question was from Linda. Thank you so much. Do seahorses live in the rock pools? Oh, so yes, that was the question I was confirming with Igor there. And our seahorses that we find, they're not generally found in the rock pools here, but in estuaries and lagoons, mainly in Knysna side here in our waters in South Africa. We've got the endemic seahorse here, and people worldwide would love to come here just to see our seahorse that we have. So no, they won't be in these rock pools. Yeah, so that is a different ecosystem for them.
speaking of the whole ecosystem and the little winkles and the sea plants in the intertidal zone, is there a link between the sea plants or the little seaweeds that we see here and the oyster catchers?
The seaweeds and the oyster catchers as an ecosystem? Okay, so let me rephrase that for everyone if we didn't get you clearly, Igor. So Igor would like to know, is there a link with our purple lava and the seaweed together with the oyster catchers? And definitely is a link there, because to our viewers, some of you may know that the oyster catcher, we're just going to focus on that now. It's one beautiful animal. He's just on the rocks there. And they love to eat winkles. One of the animals that they're part of their diet, they feed on winkles we focused on. And they also like to feed their chicks periwinkles. So they're important in a way, they're all linked. So if the oyster catchers are needed to control the amount of winkles that we have, because if those periwinkles were eating all the time, they would just end up eating all of the purple lava. So it's very important to have a balance in our ecosystem. So the oyster catcher has a role, the winkles has a role, and together with the sea plants, that forms a much bigger role as a primary source of food for all of animals.
offering our explorers another extraordinary WildEarth experience. Explorers stand a chance to win a 3-night stay for 2 at Amakhala Game Reserve, picturesquely situated next to Addo Elephant Sanctuary Park. Enjoy an authentic bush lodge experience in the luxurious Woodbury-tented camp and feel the heartbeat of Africa on exhilarating safari drives. Sign up to be an explorer today and you might soon be off to this untouched safari destination with WildEarth.
Look at them. I always find them so cute and adorable in keeping clean. And watch, they'll just follow the mom. Okay, they need to keep moving and keep it close. That's always a watchful eye from the parents. You can see the dads on the side as well. And it's stunning to see them grow. Oh, look at their little down feathers as well. There's one just running. You missed that one, okay. Jane, I completely agree with you. They are so adorable. There's something about them. I'm not sure if it might be the walking on the rocks or just, they're just cuddly and cute. So what's interesting with these animals is that the little ones, the goslings, will also feed during this time. So the moms and dads, they usually will just watch while they ensure that their little ones feed. And what they could possibly find within the coastal reaches is things like crustaceans, and they often would feed on little bugs and beetles. But in our situation here at the rocky shore, you would find various sandhoppers, beach hoppers, that are found burrowed into the sand. And especially when it rains, that's when they're out and about. You just need to remove the layers of the sand to get to the sandhopper. So that's their food in this time. Oh, wait. Yes, thank you, Ryan. They do actually slip and slide on the slippery seaweed. And that's back to the seaweed conversation. So a lot of these animals, even the penguins, you'll see them moving around. And the other seabirds, they're walking around. The slipperiest seaweed that you would find, most slippery, would be the brown seaweeds. So if you're walking along on the green stuff here, that stuff is actually known as sea lettuce. So it's not as slippery, but it can cause a nasty fall. Purple lava, very slippery because people think that the first layer is always dried up, but underneath there's always fresh pieces of seaweeds that's there. So almost like a slippery, literally a banana peel on the rocky shores. But it's always so cute to watch them slip and slide in the rock pools.
It's the finale of the Ranger Race. Come join us to see which guide has won the chase. Join Rexon and Tess and a very special guest. Who could that be? Come along and you'll see. Let's chat about how you can join WildEarth. At Eco Training, you can show us your worth. We'll talk about guiding and Ranger Race combat. We'd love to see you at our fireside chat.
So I started watching WildEarth at the beginning of COVID and I haven't looked back since. I've seen all of the leopards I wanted to see and Marie's He's been so playful and such a character. I had to remind myself to breathe at some points. To see those two cubs made me very emotional. It's just been brilliant. It's just blown me away.
Thank you, Henry, for that question. So the important roles for all of our birds here. So yes, they're part of balancing the ecosystem, not just the animals that you find on the rocky shore, so the little tiny invertebrates, but also the offshore animals. So you find that the seabirds feed on fish stocks as well, and that they are hugely impacted by that should there be low stocks of our fish as well. So those are things that we always need to consider with what we take out of the ocean and how that impacts our seabirds, our marine life. It's all connected, and especially our seabirds, they hugely rely on a source of food and fish. So that would be your inshore, very shallow water fish, but also open water, so pelagic fish. So it depends on the species. It could be a cormorant. And cormorants love to dive for their food, and depending on the type of bird, the type of cormorant, it could be a Cape cormorant. They love to dive very deep waters, and their choice of food is usually anchovies and sardines, and so that would influence them hugely. But more towards the shallow waters, here in the kelp forest, as you see in front of us, you'll find that the other birds, the other cormorants, like your crown or your bank cormorant, they don't dive very deep, so they would rely on that as well. So the animals in the ecosystem are all interlinked, depending where you are, from the upper shore to the middle shore and offshore. There has to be some sort of balance, and everyone has an important role in the ecosystem. I see our little goslings have made their way back to the shore here, onto the sand, and I think now it's just resting. So I'm fairly new to Betty's Bay, and having to come down here and look at the marine life that you find and how they're positioned on the rocky shore. I mean, we're just looking at some Egyptian geese and some African penguins that are positioned here, and all very happy and carrying on with their day, which I find quite amazing that there's so much life here on our rocky shores. I think that was Emma, hey? Yeah, thank you so much, Emma, for that question. So our goslings, let's just say, with our goslings, I believe they start off quite young. So about 6 hours within their life, they hatch, and then they're following their moms, especially their moms, wherever she goes. And they're with them for about a few weeks. I think, Ego, if you want to correct me or not, but our goslings could take around, if I'm not mistaken, about 30 days or more. Yeah, I'll have to actually confirm on that when our Egyptian geese actually do fledge. But it's much shorter period compared to our penguins, in other words. So I will get back to you on that one, and on tomorrow's show I will give you the details on our goslings.
School is out, and in the midst of all the excitement, WildEarth has created some fun new t-shirts so that our wild kids and future conservationists can get out, run, jump, play, and explore nature freely in something that's made for a little outdoors rough and tumble. Find this and so much more on our shop. Wild Earth Kids. It's in your nature.
Thank you, John, for that comment. Yes, our penguins are looking rather relaxed at the moment. I'm so tempted to actually go and join them. I think Igor agrees with me, and we both want to just go chill on the beach. It's looking quite nice because there's no wind and it's just looking really nice there. We just need to have a picnic or something with them. I think that's a perfect afternoon.
Kusha, I was actually wondering about something. I want to know what's the... so I was at the aquarium a couple days ago, and I was looking at the African penguins in one of the areas, and I'd like to know what's the difference between an African penguin in the wild, like here, and an African penguin in captivity.
Okay, so Igor's question, to repeat it, he just asked me now. He had visited the aquarium on Friday and wanted to know what's the difference between the African penguins that you find here, Betty's Bay colony, and the ones that you find at the aquarium? And that's a really good question, Igor, because in terms of our animals at the aquarium, so just to remind viewers that I do also work at the Two Oceans Aquarium in the week, and that's also another role that I do. So I do see these animals at the aquarium, various ones, especially our penguins. And their role is seen as ambassadors for their kind. And not a lot of people know that African penguins are endangered. They're actually very endangered in terms of being quite seriously threatened. And we need to start changing our behavior and lifestyle for them to protect them. And there's multiple theories as to why our penguins are hugely threatened at the moment, and that is one of the main ones is our fish stocks are quite low, so there's lots of pressure on the fish stocks for African penguins, and that has caused a decline in them. So the ones at the aquarium, back on that question, is why do we have them? As most of them, each of those penguins have a story, and a story where they could have been found along the east coast, the south coast, or in Cape Town somewhere, but in their time they could have been injured. We have stories where some of them were they were really sick, they were dehydrated, and they were seeking help. So they came from, firstly they will go to Sandkop. It's one of our coastal birds sanctuaries to look after seabirds and to rehabilitate them. And then those animals were then sent to the aquarium, and they've been with us for quite some time. So we have the same situation where we'll have breeding pairs here at Betty's Bay colonies, these land colonies, but also at the aquarium. And they've got pairs and they're very happy there. They've treated with the best conditions. They get sardines all the time, 3 times in the day. So they're very, very happy in that space. But it's important because we need to see them and understand what's wrong with the animals, especially with our penguins.
I saw they look nice and fat when I saw them.
And Igor is saying that the penguins look rather chubby, hey? Quite fat, as he's saying, which is true. And when I first started at the aquarium, I was a volunteer. And I worked with penguins daily, so a volunteer animal keeper, and that mainly worked with penguins for almost about 2 years. And feeding them, getting to know them. What's interesting is how to identify which animal is getting fed, because they all look the same, and we know this. If you watch the show regularly, you'll know that it's very difficult to identify penguins. And the only way to do that, to distinguish between them, is that you look at the spots. You have a look at the spots and the unique pattern that they have on their body. And then we can identify, oh, there's Chuck. And Chuck's going to get 3 pieces of pilchard. Or Chuck needs to get some meds, so we'll put a piece of, well, one of the tablets within the pilchard to actually give him his medication. But they're all wild. They're not friendly in any way, as in they can still bite us, and we have to protect ourselves when we are working with the penguins. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Yeah. I must share a story that I almost lost a penguin when I was working at the aquarium. So that was also an interesting thing. And like you see these birds sitting here on the beach or on the rocks in their position, what's interesting is that birds love the dark. They love to be in the dark. And we have one penguin, his name is Ayoba. So he was born at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa that we hosted, and we named him Ayoba. And Ayoba is a naughty penguin because he would hide in corners. For one day I let him out, and I let him out to a point where he could follow us around, but then he went and he hid around in a corner in a dark spot, and we couldn't find him for a few hours, and I had thought I had lost my job because I had lost the penguin. So it was, and he just slipped off the rock, and that's how we found him. Yeah, because he was there sitting in the same spot for quite some time. Like these penguins are sitting in their spots, they're not moving. The same thing he did on his rock in the aquarium. But all good, we're on good terms.
I just saw that happen before.
Okay.
Would you like to have your finger on the pulse of WildEarth? Are you curious about what happens behind the scenes? And would you like a catch-up on the best moments from the week, delivered straight to your inbox?
How cool is this? And oops, don't lose it.
Then it's time to join the Explorers Club and receive the weekly newsletter. Head over to our website to find out more.
Delve deeper into what WildEarth can offer you. Register for free on our website, and you can interact with our guides whilst watching your favorite show. Once registered, you will also have access to some extra special content.
There might be something along here. I think we should go have a look.
Registration includes filling in your email address and creating a password. It's that easy. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Roddy, that's so true. I was thinking the same thing. Like, we're on this beach. There's a lot of space around here. But the goslings and the penguins love to be close to each other and very calm. Igor, is it normal for them to be this close?
To the geese?
To the geese.
Yes, actually.
Okay, so they
quite like to bully each other when they come into each other's space. And pretty much they'll have a peck at any bird or creature that comes too close to them. But generally, the Egyptian geese and the penguins seem to coexist quite peacefully.
So Igor says that they are generally like this, and they love to coexist together and to be quite close. And Mel also says that they're having a super chill Sunday, and I completely agree with them. We couldn't have asked for a better day here in Betty's Bay. It's just so calm. The last time I was here, it was windy, and we had to hold the camera still and things like that due to those winds. So they are showing off that it's a really lovely time. I always look at these Egyptian geese and I think they kind of look like these bandits or superheroes with their little band over the eye, and how they move around and dominate and keeping a watchful eye and protecting their little ones. I like to call them superheroes. And they're super good parents to their little ones who are having a little snooze on the beach right now, all cuddled up. Joanna, yes, it is fascinating to see birds and how they stand and balance on one leg. That's also another behavior that these animals do to keep themselves warm and to keep the one of their limbs warm, and then to regulate that temperature there as well within the blood vessels there. So they tuck it in, they're keeping nice and cozy, and the balance is also quite interesting to hold themselves up. I'm trying to imagine what a African penguin would look like if it was standing on one leg. So probably not that perfect. We'll have to see who's the best bird to stand on one leg on these rather slippery rocks at the rocky shore. But they do it so well. Even our African oyster catchers, they also do the same and hold their one leg up. And we're back on this beautiful trap over here. I'm gonna say it again. Honestly, oyster catchers are my fave. Beautiful black colors and that dagger-like bill, bright red color that matches their eye as well as their legs. It's so amazing how beautifully designed they are. And he's just having a lovely bath. I think it's just a nice day for a swim, for a beach day, and just to enjoy the day out on a Sunday. And everyone is having a great time. And you can see that design of that beak is just right for it to peck at small spaces, crevices between the rocks, and for little crustaceans, little animals, invertebrates that they would eat. Also to open up little snails like winkles, periwinkles, and get to the part that they'd love to eat. And he's just hopping along. Oh. And I think he moved to the next pool because I think it's the dad, the male Egyptian geese was actually taking over his spot. There he is. So there are some conversations here, some interesting little movements based on whose space is whose and who gets the pool. And Igor has now got a focus on this rather interesting bird. And I think you guys were talking about Vikings or something to do with this bird and that long beard that it has on just around its neck. And I think Byron refers to them as yellow socks. And the yellow socks and this design of this little egret is perfect for its stealth movements in the rock pools and to catch its food, like little clipfices, anything small enough that it can strike at and catch its food.
Do you have nature in your garden or nearby? Could your child be the next David Attenborough? We are encouraging all WildEarth kids to send in videos of wildlife on their doorstep. Help your child film in the garden and send your videos to us to be played in our Schools Out Week. Remember to film in landscape and head over to wildearth.tv/kids in nature to find out more, or scan the QR code. WildEarth Kids, it's in your nature. The schools are out, and for 5 days, WildEarth is taking our kids into nature. We want to answer any questions that our future conservationists have about nature and becoming a safari guide. Scan this QR code and let us know who is watching so we can give your kids a shout out. Join us with your whole family from the 1st to the 5th of August for a week of nature fun. WildEarth Kids, it's in your nature.
Just want to hear that question again from Mel. If you could just repeat that for me, please. Just having a good giggle here. Where'd he go? We missed him. Sorry everyone, we were trying to focus on a little bird, and as we did, he just flew away. And a little one over here, that's our wagtail that's on the move. And a lovely color. And I love that white just above the eye, that little strike of white. And these colors are perfect for it to blend along the sandy shore. It's where you'll find them. And he's just disappeared for now. We will come back to our wagtail. So Riley's question, thank you so much for that. Do all seabirds create their nests on rocks? And that's what you were asking. So it really depends on the species. With our seabirds, an example of a oyster catcher, they don't have their nests on the rocks, but instead they'll have it on the sandy shore and on the beaches, where you'll find kelp gulls and the cormorants. They would choose a nice suitable nest, a spot on the rocks, and they can create their nest there and collect material for that. So like those guys up at Cormorant Cove, they're the beautiful shot that Ego's got of them. You would find that there would be some nests up on those rocks as well. So we're just going to move out of frame now. We're going to take you across to one of our penguin nests. And just over there, you'll see another African penguin enjoying its Sunday. Catching a little snooze and enjoying that sunlight. So with the penguins, they also have, they create their burrows in the ground, and
School is out and WildEarth is inviting your kids to join us for some special live safaris. Kids love to hear their names on the telly, so let us know if they're on board and we will give them a personal welcome. If you're happy for us to read your child's name out, then scan the QR code and fill in the form. Shoutouts will happen in the first hour of the Sunset Safari during our Schools Out week from the 1st to 5th of August. Head over to our website and find out more.
That whole safari live video just inspired me to fulfill my dream of becoming a safari guide as well.
Thank you, Holly, for that question. And I believe you're 8 years old and you are interested in watching our show. That's awesome to hear. And with our penguins, they don't eat the sea plants. They will eat, mainly their diet consists of sardines and so fish and anchovies. Sometimes they don't, not always able to get that, and they are resorting to squid and other food that's probably not as nutritious for them, but they would eat those kinds of things that they would find. Okay, so fish is primarily their diet that they would eat. Penguin chicks, they would rely on their moms and dads to bring their food for them. So they would eat what their moms and dads are eating, and that's the food that they would get in the time that they're in their nests. And what we're seeing is some interesting behavior with our penguins, and I believe this would be a pair, and they're very comfortable with each other, preening each other, which we can refer to as preening. And I love how these penguins, well, most of our penguins would show affection for each other and the commitment that they have in their relationship, and very happy they're together. That's a sweet image. I like that. And they're both sleeping now and resting. You preen my back and I'll preen your back. And then we can sleep together and rest. So preening is quite important for these animals in order to waterproof their feathers, especially with our penguins, and keep them warm in the water. They would need to preen. And then in the back there's just a little blue that is preening, and they have a gland that's located just at the tail part of their body, on top, just below. Yeah, that side. And there's just a gland that's essential to give them enough oil that's on their bill, which they can use that to preen each of their feathers and to keep them waterproof and insulated for their time at sea. And with penguin coats, feather coats, they actually have a very thick coat. If you were to look at the layers of the feathers that they have and the plumage on them, it's very important for that animal to have a good coat that can withstand cold water here, especially in the reaches of the Atlantic that we have, because they're designed for very, very cold water.
Here on WildEarth, we love it when you interact with our guides while they are live.
In order to do this, you must head over to wildearth.tv/questions and submit your questions, comments, and suggestions.
Simple as that. And to make it even simpler, from time to time, you will see a QR code on your screen. Open your camera phone and scan this code, and it will take you straight to where you need to be. We look forward to answering your questions on this channel.
School is out, and in the midst of all the excitement,
WildEarth has created some fun new t-shirts so that our wild kids and future conservationists can get out, run, jump, play and explore nature freely in something that's made for a little outdoors rough and tumble. Find this and so much more on our shop. WildEarth Kids. It's in your nature.
So do remember to our viewers, please to send in your questions and comments. You can do that at wildearth.tv/questions, or you could alternatively scan the QR code and you can register for that and send them through. We would love to hear more from you. If there's anything you'd like us to cover or to talk about today, or just have a few comments, please do share that with us. Telly, thank you for that comment. So Egyptian geese, they are generally found in various places, not just in South Africa, as mostly the sub-Sahara and those spaces and further north. And yeah, so the environment could either be close to shore, could be in wetlands, estuaries, your back garden at home. There's various places that they're all adapted to. As long as they have a good source of food, they will be very fine in those spaces. Yeah. So things like bugs and beetles and invertebrates that they would feed on. But as an adult, these birds would generally, they're herbivores, so they would eat on grass and shrubs and things, and vegetation. So the little ones start off really young and they eat the invertebrates, and the beetles and the bugs and sandhoppers, versus the adults who are primarily herbivores. I was just taking a moment to look at the kelp, and I must say kelp has been a love-hate thing for me in my career of working in the marine environment. And it's actually a beautiful plant, because this place, it provides a home for all of these animals that you're seeing here. This is the kelp forest. Together with the kelp forest is the rocky shore. And it's home for our marine birds, as in the seabirds, your African penguins, birds we mentioned earlier on. There's lots of fish and reef fish in there. There's a whole range of life there. And back onto the point as to why it's a love-hate for me, because I didn't like touching seaweed when I do dives. If I were to do a kelp dive or any dive here in Cape Town, this unique plant is actually a good thing to have, because you can hold on to that plant. So kelp is an important plant because it's a barrier against this massive energy that comes to our shore. So it makes it a sheltered environment for most of the animals you see here. But it's very strong. So I think one of our episodes, I would love to show you what a kelp holdfast looks like. And then we can actually look inside a holdfast and look at all the little critters in there, because that gets attached to the bottom of the ocean on some flat substrate. And it's very hard to pull down a piece of kelp. So for me, it's my little go-to and to hold on if you're free diving or scuba diving and there's a strong current and undercurrent. Kelp is your friend. So that's how I'm looking at the vast bed of kelp that we have here. It's just extending all the way, and it's a unique feature of our coastline here in the Western Cape. And the ocean is looking quite milky, so I'd say our viz is quite murky, so it wouldn't be the greatest time for a dive, but hopefully it'll clear up within the next day because of the strong southeaster that we have. brings up all of the nutrients to the water, which is good for our animals and our plants.
We are offering our explorers another extraordinary WildEarth experience. Explorers stand a chance to win a 3-night stay for 2 at Amakhala Game Reserve, picturesquely situated next to Addo Elephant Sanctuary Park. Enjoy an authentic bush lodge experience in the luxurious Woodbury-tented camp and feel the heartbeat of Africa on exhilarating safari drives. Sign up to be an explorer today and you might soon be off to this untouched safari destination with WildEarth.
It's the finale of the Ranger Race. Come join us to see which guide has won the chase. Join Rexon and Tess and a very special guest. Who could that be? Come along and you'll see. Let's chat about how you can join WildEarth. At Eco Training, you can show us your worth. We'll talk about guiding and Ranger Race combat. We'd love to see you at our fireside chat.
Jeremy, yes, it does look quite inviting just to float around and hold on to. What's nice is that you'll see our birds. So if a kelp were to uproot and it would detach from the bottom, that would eventually float up to the surface, because inside the kelp, the stem or the stipe, it's actually a hollow plant and it's filled up with gases. That's what allows it to reach to the surface. And they're generally about 9 to 15 meters in length. And when that comes up to the surface, you'll find our birds that love to just rest on that floating piece of kelp. Most of the time people think there's something in the water. It could be a seal, it could be some animal. And most of the time it is kelp. Not to say it's not the greatest thing. I think when I first moved here to Cape Town, I always just think there's so many animals, and then I didn't realize it was actually just the kelp. If you have a close look at it, because it looks like there's some animals in between. But yes, nice little piece of plant to float on. Or to hold on to when you're diving. So those of you who know about our Ranger Race, that's happening it's been happening over Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so there will be a fireside chat this evening, just to remind you to please join us for that. And you can have your comments and questions sent in at the fireside chat. So please do send those in tonight.
The Masai Mara in Kenya, a remote landscape where wilderness reigns. Its inspirational beauty captivates the hearts of many around the world. This year, from August, WildEarth is leading a number of unique expeditions to follow Africa's greatest wildebeest migration here in the Masai Mara. And now, the remaining places have been discounted by 20%. Head over to our website to find out.
We want to make it even easier for you to interact with our guides whilst watching WildEarth. When you see a QR code like this pop up on your screen, then open your phone camera, point it at the code, and you will be taken directly to our question page. Simple as that. Then you can let us know what you want to see, ask questions, and much more.
I've had it before where I've been walking and the waterbucks jumped out of the grass. It's quite a frightening experience.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So the washed up kelp that you see here that's in the right place. A lot of people tend to move them away because as they start to decay and to break up, they may give off a nasty smell that I'm not really fond of. But there are various species that enjoy this sort of environment, and the dried up pieces of kelp that you find here. You can actually go and pick up pieces. They're not bad, as in there's the ones that are very hollow. They make little vuvuzelas from them because they're still very hardy, and they've got the stipe is quite strong, even though it's dried up, but the material almost turns into a plastic piece, like the vuvuzelas. I'm not sure if you remember the vuvuzelas that happened at our sports stadium for soccer in South Africa. That's where they use them. Oh, the Ego has focused on one right now, and that's the hollow part that you see there. And so the one end you could to blow on, so the thinner end, so it'll be the other side where the fronds are, and then that'll be a hollow inside. Apparently it was also used to call whales. They used to use that little instrument, use it as a device to call the whales as well. So that would be our kelp stipe that you're seeing here. Thank you, Molly, for those comments. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the show today, because I think Ego and I also have really enjoyed being here today, and it was a really nice Sunday afternoon. And as chilled as these penguins look today, I think that's how we took the show. We got to show you today in a way where we could stroll along in a very chilled way and to explore these shores and see what's there. And we're just... Cormorant is... What's in his mouth? That's interesting. So Ego's just focusing on one of our birds. He's picked up some nesting material. And I think that's a beautiful way to end the show, especially for breeding time, for our cormorants to get their nesting material for breeding season, and important for them. So Cormorant Cove, you can see there, I think Byron was the one who shared the mating stance of the bird. I had a good laugh with that and what they do. So I won't be doing that, but I hope that you did enjoy the show today, and thank you so much for everyone for being here. Tomorrow, myself and Eagle will see you tomorrow. Thank you. Messed up, big time. Messed up the last line. Please.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.